Yes, sir.
Are you going to be the story for all ages? I don't know. Oh,
Yes. Are you good on the hands? Anything you need to talk through?
I think so. I think it's all verses.
I have touch is only question. I have 3 verses of lyrics. It's easy to pick up. I just have 3 verses. So I have hush hush, sounds like freedom, sounds like justice. And there are 5 but I just have 3 verses, 3 lyrics on the slides.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to do more, tell us if you need more. If you want to do 3, that's what we got. Works well.
If there's on slides, that's probably. And I guess, so it's a story for all ages. So you would actually play it or just kind of like preview it and then send it over and then the next one.
Yes, sir.
We have a bit of a situation. The moms, they're staying. I just remind people we've got guests because they've got food. We'll let that be. And we have another one.
Sir?
That's not, I don't know if that was on the, I suggested it. not feeling well, sick, all that stuff. So, and Alton, and the job are,
Cindy probably wants to answer the question. She's
Okay.
going to be on Zoom.
Great.
I'll let Mike.
Good morning, friends. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. I'm Reverend McKinley Sims. I use he, him pronouns. Thank you for being with us this morning. It's great to see some new faces for me and some old faces here returning back. If this is your first time with us, welcome to UU Mount Airy. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation here in this historically Universalist sanctuary. And I am so glad to be leading our multi-platform service today with wonderful music from Anam Awili Ager on the piano today. Thank you, Anam. To hear a wonderful story for all ages, and then have some religious exploration time with wonderful Miss Elizabeth Ann Terry. And co-leading the service today is Mr. Tim Steyer, who will be sharing words of wisdom later today. Thank you for being here, friends, whether you're joining us here in our sanctuary or joining us from home. If you are joining us at home on Zoom or watching us on Facebook or YouTube, know that we have a couple of different ways to be a part of this service. You're always welcome here in person or to have a Zoom call that is going on right now. If you're watching us and you need closed captions, if you would go to the bottom of your Zoom screen and click on the CC button, it will bring up the automatic closed captions so you can understand my Texas accent a little bit better. Our childcare is available for infants and toddlers, and after we have a time for all ages here, our kids will go to their religious exploration group following that period of the service, and then they can be picked up. Where are we picking up? Downstairs or over in Hale? In Hale Lounge. Everybody is together over in Hale Lounge, and kids can be picked up there after the service. All right, friends, let's take a breath together and settle in. It's either the end of your week or the beginning of your week. What a week it has been. Let's find ourselves here in this space, present to all that is. Hear these words. This is a Unitarian Universalist congregation, which means we welcome all who welcome all. We are people of different faith traditions and no tradition at all. Different beliefs about God or spirit and no belief at all. Of different racial identities, different gender expressions, of all different ways of moving in and showing up in the world. We know that we are made more whole by your choice to be with us this morning. And we've been waiting for you to bring all of your beautiful self here. We honor that gift. Here at UU Mount Airy, we say we are building beloved community by embracing all souls and nurturing wholeness. And just as we are in the process of becoming whole, we thank you for your becoming as well. May this be the place where you come to be your whole self. May this be the community to help you speak your doubts and welcome your questions. May you find transformation and healing here, and may you leave this place changed for the better. And may we change this place, leaving it better. With all these gratitude and intentions, we lift our guiding lights up this morning and begin with the call to worship and chalice lighting from Tim Steyer.
Good morning. I'm Tim Steyer, and I go by the pronouns he, him. Today's service is about squaring our Unitarian Universalist history, speaking to the roots of one part of our living tradition. We come to embrace our roots without identifying only with those roots in the Protestant Christian tradition, as we are a pluralist faith, composed of many beautiful windows in the sanctuary of all that is holy. May we be the love that is left in to those windows as holy light to this beloved community. Come, let us worship together. For our chalice lighting, in UU congregations, we light a chalice to celebrate our coming together in love, to mark the sacred space and time of our community and invite the Spirit into our lives. We invite you to light a candle wherever you are today and read along with us here in the sanctuary. We will read together the chalice lighting word from the Unitarian Universalist Association as they are shared to your screen, and Reverend McKinley will light our chalice. We light this chalice to root our work in love as a principal guide, attending particularly. Our opening hymn is number 1040, Hush. We invite you to stand in body or rise in spirit as we sing this hymn together.
Thank you, friends. As we move deeper into our service, we offer a space for us to hold one another in all that it is to be human, the gift of our joys and sorrows. If this is your first time here, we offer a ritual that's fairly straightforward. If you're so willing, we invite you to come up by this side aisle, grab a stone from this basket, and take a second to check in with yourself. What's going on with me today? What am I holding? What am I feeling this week that I need to either let down or to lift up? It can be joys, sorrows, hopes, wishes, dreams, regrets, prayers, and intentions. And then drop the stone that is infused with all that into this bowl of water that symbolizes this community, that we might hold it together. I invite you to note how your stone nestles against the stones of all those who came before, and how the ripples can feel turbulent at first, but then level out. So it is to be human here. If you're joining us online, if you would use the Zoom chat function to share your joys and sorrows, and let us know if you would like them shared out loud. We will lift those up at the end. You're welcome to sit in your pew and just contemplate or pray or meditate, whatever you need to do, however you feel called to participate. We'll listen to some music and then take a moment afterwards. Come, whoever you are, the table of joys and sorrows is open.
I'm Sharon Fisher. I wanted to express some joy for the retreat we had yesterday for the choir. It was really nice to have almost all our voices back. We missed a few people like Annabelle, but I had a good time. And the concern in the sorrows department is, right after that, I went with my friend Annie Arfa, and we went to see the movie Killers of the Flower Moon. It's really important, I think, if you have the chance to see it. It's a part of our American history that we don't talk about, and it is very relevant to our reparations discussions that we're going to be having this afternoon. Thank you.
Prayers for Gaza.
My name is Harold. Annabelle and I took a new route to church today since we have moved, and it hardly took us any longer. It's about the same amount of time.
Well, we worked harder than we ever did in our whole life for 4 months, clearing out our house and negotiating new living place and lots of contracts. And so we finally landed, and it feels very good. And by the end of the month, we will have totally let go of our other house and we'll be done. So then we can really get settled again. So thanks for all the support we've received.
We have a new puppy. The puppy thanks you. His name is Magic. He is a Cocker Spaniel, Mini Poodle, Pomeranian Husky.
Good morning. I'm Steve, and it's a time of transition for our family. My aunt, who was in hospice for about 3 weeks, passed away yesterday, so we're going to be gathering up in Massachusetts later in this week. And then my brother Greg's wife, Nancy, was diagnosed not with one, but with 2 different kinds of breast cancer. And she's facing 18 weeks of chemotherapy beginning this week. So.
Hi, everybody. Ro turned 3 this week, and Ro is Ro is our rainbow baby. So every birthday it just feels like an extra blessing. So.
Hello, my name is Annie, and I would like you to think about Suzanne Weltman. I visited her the other day. She has completed her treatments, but she has a long road back for recovery. She's hanging in there. It's tough, you know, so please think of Suzanne.
Good morning. My name is Wayne, and we need lots of prayers and hope. But I also have a joy for everyone. Look around, look at the trees, and that will bring a smile on your face.
From Holly online, Holly Job, delighted to share that she's finally moved to Folkways and feeling all right. Tim, will you put a final stone in for all those joys and sorrows not shared out loud, but nevertheless held dear? Friends, I'm going to invite you to join me in reflecting on these words that speak to just one of the conflicts going on in our world, one that is close to many of us. This is an excerpt from a letter of Rabbi Sharon Cohen, president of Hebrew College in Newton, Massachusetts. Dear ones, like so many of you, I spent much of last week searching for language to describe and respond to the new reality in which we find ourselves. As Israeli novelist David Grossman wrote last Thursday in the Financial Times, I look at people's faces and see shock, numbness. Our hearts are weighed down by constant burden. Over and over again, we say to each other, it's a nightmare beyond comparison. No words to describe it, no words to contain it. For me personally, some important language came unexpectedly while I was sitting in shul this past Shabbat morning. Our teacher was serving as the leader of our group, and he offered me Shebeirach for each person who had been called up. And he concluded with the words, among all the mourners of our people, among all the mourners of our people. It was an exquisitely simple and profound gesture of pastoral care. And I hadn't understood until that moment how deeply I needed to be named as a mourner. Among all the mourners of our people, I wept with recognition and relief. Friends, do not equate concern for Palestinian suffering and the loss of innocent Palestinian lives with betrayal of the Jewish people. Let us not allow the inhumanity of Hamas to strip us of our basic humanity. Here I share words from my colleague Rabbi Sean Ruby, shared with permission. I live in Israel. I have a child in the IDF. I am attending the funeral tomorrow of a young man whom I have known since he was a child, who was killed on the first day of fighting. I am in unbearable pain. That said, I have no problem with people raising concern, mourning, sadness, or horror about the loss of life in Gaza, alongside that on our side. The human tragedy is overwhelming. Recognizing that does not diminish from the Jewish-Israeli tragedy. For all of us reacting one way or the other to each other, let's take a breath and exercise some compassion and forgiveness for those of us who are reacting to a horrifying situation by being more unwilling to hear the other side than usual. Let us not let the worst days in the last 50 years of Jewish history fragment us. I invite us to breathe through that. May our mourning and grief open us up to the suffering of others. As to be human is not either or. It's to be both and, to be many, and to be one. May it be so. And invite Elizabeth and Terry Ford to use this microphone if you can, Elizabeth Ann. Does that work for you? Potentially? That's fine. I'll lower it down for you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Elizabeth Ann Terry, your Director of Religious Exploration, Education. It's got a lot of names, but I'm here for you and the children of our community. And with our theme today, I wanted to teach you something. We're going to run through those slides. Bring
them up in a second.
3 times. First time, we're just going to learn the words. Second time, we're going to add some hand gestures, very polite hand gestures. And then we'll do it again. This is something that most Unitarian Universalists may know, and it's in fitting with our theme today. So I can't see whether they're up. Are they up? Nope. Well, I can just say the words for y'all. Yep, okay. First, who are we? We are Unitarian Universalists. Can you say that with me? We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open mind. Helping hands and loving heart. The next is a big sentence, but I know you can do it. I'll do it in 2 parts. Together we care for our earth and work for friendship and peace in our world. Okay, here come the hand things with the words. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open mind, helping hands, and loving heart. Wasn't that fun? Let's do it one more time. So is it queued up again? Yes. Okay. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open mind, helping hands, and loving heart. What are we doing together? Together, so I'm going to invite you to reach out actually or figuratively to the person next to you and just touch their hand. Because you know what? We are doing this together. Okay. So the young people, pick up feet. Let's go. Come on. Parents and caretakers are always welcome at RE. And we're going to go down these lovely stairs. There's Rob. Happy birthday, girl. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Come on, Monroe.
Thank you, friends.
So we're going to do something a little different. Annie Gahab. You can sit if you like or stand.
Oh, I'll stand.
You'll stand. Okay. Hey, Annie.
Yeah,
I hear you go to that Unitarian Universalist church.
I sure do.
What's that about? Can you tell me?
I want to say what Elizabeth said. But anyways, what do I say? I say that we're a spiritual community with people of many beliefs. And then usually people say, well, what do you mean about that? And then I usually say, well, beliefs that you're familiar with, like the Jewish faith, the Christian faith, the Buddhists, and many others. And other people have all kinds of beliefs. I also talk about social justice, and that we're a church of social justice, looking to eradicate racism, looking to support the LGBTQ plus community, and eradicate homophobia. Depends on how long this conversation goes. A lot of people are like, we just want to hear the first couple of sentences.
We're on the elevator.
What?
We're on the elevator.
We're on the elevator. I only have a couple more things, but that's the general piece. And then the most important thing to me is to say that we are a church of people who believe in love, feel love, and kindness.
Very good. Thank you. Is Levin here today? No? He was supposed to be next up. We do have Cynthia Bradley. Mike, if you could pipe her in, that would be good. Cynthia, are you there? She's online. Zoom?
I'm here.
Good. So, Cynthia, I hear you go to that church up on Staten Avenue. They got flea markets every now and then, and, they ring a bell every Sunday. It's a Unitarian Universalist church. Can you tell me, what is that about? What is Unitarian Universalism?
Well, we are a UU church, that's what we're called, and we do a whole lot more than flea markets, although I do the flea markets and have a great time. You may know that. We embrace the divine in every culture, and we have universal concepts from all the religions, the Jewish, the Christian, the Buddhist, the Zen. We look at all of the things that are divine. And we have no dogma. You don't have to sit and read a book every day and pray all night. We are entrenched in social justice. You may have seen us out on the sidewalk with signs every Thursday. We are of many faiths. We're multicultural. We include descendants of enslaved people and descendants of enslavers. We are looking at the divine spark in all. We look at all the great world religions, the great beliefs. It's a spiritual place, and I invite you to stop by and check us out.
I think I will.
Now, if the elevator is opening, I'm gonna press the button and follow you out of the elevator and tell you a little bit more.
Well, thank you, Cynthia. I think I'll stop by and check you guys out.
Oh, please do. We're there every Sunday at 11 a.m.
All right.
Come by.
And if I could get a volunteer, I was thinking somebody new. Jill? Right. Hey, Jill, how are you today?
Everybody knows we have a puppy, so I'm good.
You got a puppy, you're good. Hey, listen, I heard you just started going to that church on Staten Avenue, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Mount Airy.
Yes.
What is Unitarian Universalism? Tell me about it.
It seems to me that it is for everyone, whether you have a belief or not, because belief is talked about, but if you don't believe in anything, religion-wise, it's for you. If you believe in something religion-wise, it's for you. All the great people that gather, it's just a wonderful community of people.
Cool. I think I'll go there with you one Sunday.
Oh, please do. There's a great coffee hour after, too.
And they may even let you, cool, they may even let you bring your puppy?
Well, I don't know, not yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jill.
That was in no way prescripted or pre-planned, I can tell you.
Thank you, Cynthia, Annie, and Jill. I've been asked this question a lot lately, and I have, over the years, gotten better at answering it. Yesterday, I asked Reverend John Cresswell, co-minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Annapolis, the exact same question. Granted, he's a minister, has been a minister at UU for 20 years. Here's what he said. Unitarian Universalism is about pluralism, character building, recognizing the worth and dignity of all, and creating a beloved community. We come to be our authentic selves while being challenged by our principles sources, and values to make ourselves and the world better. Other notable UUs and some non-UUs, you'll recognize one at first, have this to say. Unitarian Universalism is a way of life, not just a set of beliefs. And that was the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Unitarian Universalism is a faith that welcomes all people, regardless of their background or beliefs. It is a place where you can come as you are and be accepted for who you are. And that's Reverend Dr. Susan Rakow. Unitarian Universalism is a faith that believes in the power of people to make the world a better place. It is a faith that is rooted in justice, compassion, and love. And that is the Reverend Dr. William G. Sinkford. Unitarian Universalism is a faith that is open to change and growth. It is a faith that is not afraid to ask questions and challenge the status quo. I was really surprised. This was written almost 2 centuries ago by Reverend Dr. William Ellery Channing. Unitarian Universalism is a faith that is grounded in love. It is a faith that believes that love is the most powerful force in the universe. Reverend Dr. Forrest Church. I find, me personally, describing Unitarian Universalism as something deceptively simple and complex to define. As you hear, it's hard to say going up an elevator. So I said, what is, I've had ministers ask me that question, and but I think I've gotten better, as I said, over the years. It's complex not only to define, but also to do. We come here in this holy place to work to build a beloved community and practice what we believe. Practice. It is hard work and challenging at times. As you use, our central task is practicing to be better lovers. Reverend Theodore Parker, American transcendentalist and Unitarian minister, talks about the transient and the permanent. Dogmas, beliefs, and religious trends are transient. Unitarian Universalism focuses on the permanent while acknowledging the transient. Love is the spirit of what we do, and love is permanent. As a Unitarian Universalist, I believe, as Reverend Cresswell pointed out in his sermon titled, Why I Am Still a UU After 20 Years, he says our central task as UUs is to become better lovers and recognize the transient and permanence of our existence and be willing to say yes to a better life and a better world. Amen.
We're going to sing a hymn together. It is number 145 in our gray hymnal. It's called As Tranquil Streams. I invite you to pay attention to the lyrics, because this is the very first hymn that was shared after the merger of the Unitarians and the Universalists in 1961. This is the first song they ever sang together. I invite you to remain seated where you are and sing number 145, As Tranquil Streams.
Okay.
I'm gonna do my piece.
No, go ahead.
That hymn sounds old, because it is. It was written in 1933. Thank you, sir. Just put it over here. Which is 20 some odd years before the actual merger of the Unitarians and Universalists in 1961. But the merger didn't just happen in 1961 all at once. Right? If you've ever been a part of a decision making in this congregation, you can simply not imagine a decision that large being made so quickly. And that's true. In 1933, the author of this hymn looked at the two denominations and saw that one was totally in what we might call Orthodox Christianity, not Eastern Orthodox, but kind of, regular Christianity. And one had expanded beyond simply Christianity. There were no longer just buildings that would be considered churches. There were buildings that they called fellowships, and congregations they called fellowships, that did not have ministers, that did not have any of the trappings of Christianity. But what they had in common was that they were both on the liberal, progressive, activist edge of organized religion, and that they actually had more in common with each other than did some folks who were in the same branches of Christianity. That it was their liberal, progressive edge that actually united them. As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to seek the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free, free from the bonds that bind the mind to narrow thought and lifeless creed, free from a social code that fails to serve the cause of human need. Freedom of belief in serving the cause of human need was what united these two seemingly disparate groups of people. But they got together and they started the voting process in 1959. Prior to that, the youth of both organizations had said, we're not waiting on the adults. We are the same people. We are forming a young person's group. They were actually the first to merger, and it was the elders that took a little bit longer to get their votes in and to merge. This was following co-signing of what was called the Humanist Manifesto in the 1933s that was signed by a number of ministers from the Unitarian side and one minister from the Universalist side. And I will give you two guesses as to what church he served in Philadelphia. This one. They united behind a common cause of deeds, not creeds, summed up on the Universalist side of love God and love humanity. And this was the beginnings of the pluralist faith tradition that we have now. Back then, it was not quite as pluralist as it is now. It was a lot of Christianity and kind of like semi-Christianity. But it would only grow wider and stronger since 1961. And it was based on covenant, sacred promises to one another, rather than a creed that you would say every week that binds us together. It was based on how we act, what we do, how we live out love in the world, based on our soul work. So when they sang that image in the hymn of two tranquil streams, merging gently to seek the sea, it's probably a little underestimating their own power at that point, but that's kind of how they thought of themselves, right? We're just these little streams, and if we meet together, we're not going to be a big river, we're going to be a slightly bigger stream going towards the sea. But regardless of how big a stream is or a river is, if you've ever been to a confluence where two streams meet, sometimes it's tranquil, but if you look very closely, there's actually a lot of conflict, a lot of roiling and whirlpools and bubbles. When they were merging, that was one of the central conflicts, was about their Christian past. They had to decide, okay, how Christian are we? Are we like still Christian or like not really Christian? Are we semi-Christian? Are we going to talk about that in our founding documents. And the truth is, they wanted to be both and. They wanted to be both Christian and not Christian, or beyond Christian. They wanted to be both and. They suffered from what many of us suffer. In a white Western culture, it is very easy to fall into either or thinking, binary thinking. And the very first fight they had was over the name. They thought maybe we just need to call it something totally different, the Liberal Congregations of America or something. Then they said, no, we want to honor the history. So then there was the fight. What was the fight? Whether it was Unitarian first or Universalist. Whose you comes first? When you say you, which you is first? Is it us or is it them? Yes. And we have the old stereotypes of these two denominations. When they got together, these old stereotypes came up. The Unitarians looked at the Universalists, and the Universalists had been more of a grassroots organization. They grew up kind of organically, in lots of different places in the world, in Christianity here in America. They grew up and then they migrated westward with colonial expansion. The Unitarians were centered in Boston. It was a Puritan offshoot. It was very kind of upper class. And those stereotypes came out. One Unitarian at the merger commented on the Universalists and said, they are just Baptists who can read. How harsh is that? Likewise, a Universalist stood up and responded, well, Unitarians only enjoy sermons they can barely understand themselves. This either or thinking and these kind of snipes at each other. They were trying to figure out who we are. And the stereotype was that Unitarians are very head-centered. They like intellectual stimulation and very heady things. They were not about mixing with different classes of people, certainly not with different religious groups of people. But the Universalists, they were kind of folksy and the good old love people. They believed in love above all else. And while there is some truth to that, that is not the whole truth. Tim spoke about William Ellery Channing, who based his entire transcendentalist, humanist, post-Christian theology was rooted on the idea of God as love, that love is the most powerful force in the universe. Everything sprang from that, the idea that the natural world was miraculous and that miracles in the natural world were proof of God's love. He was Unitarian. Likewise, the Universalist, Hosea Ballou, wrote something called the Treatise on Atonement, which is a very Unitarian title, I have to admit. He was a Universalist, but he wrote like a Greek Socratic dialogue, very rational, very head-centered. He wanted to prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that God loved you more than anything else in the world. He just didn't want to say it, he wanted to prove it to you, to convince you. So that either or dichotomy, that's sometimes helpful, but it's not the whole truth. We all contain multitudes, as we are fond of saying here. The depiction of those multitudes in that merger process led to the enumeration of a few core principles. If you're familiar with UU congregations now, we have 8 principles around our walls here in Mount Airy. Back then there were 6. And this is what they said. Just a few of them. In accordance with these corporate purposes, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Association, dedicated to the principles of a free faith, unite in seeking. I want to lift up a couple. To strengthen one another in a free and disciplined search for truth as the foundation of our religious fellowship. To cherish and spread the universal truths taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity in every age and tradition, immemorially summarized in the Judeo-Christian heritage as love to God and love to man. And then the last one, to encourage cooperation with men of goodwill in every land. I think they meant all humans, but maybe not. This is the, late 50s. The next verse of that song, a freedom that reveres the past, but trusts the dawning future more and bids the soul in search of truth adventure boldly and explore. When these two groups merged and they were trying to figure out who they are and writing these bylaws and principles and sources, they're trying to figure out who they are, but they put in a system to make sure that they would not be stuck in the past, that they would be what's called a living tradition that we talk about today, a living tradition. They said every 15 years, we got to look at all this stuff and revisit it, reinterpret it if we need to update ourselves and our systems to be a living tradition. I think they had in mind the tranquil stream that is never the same stream twice when you dip your toe in, right? That old Buddha saying. That we have to embrace change as part of who we are. That we want to honor where we came from, the Unitarians and the Universalists, and we're trying to grow wider, to be more, to be both and. We don't want these words on a paper written in 1961 to become idols, was a word they used. To become idols, things that you worship without knowing. So change is a necessary part of being a living tradition, and whether they knew it then or not, so is that conflict, the roiling where the streams meet. That is also a part of a living tradition. And if you were like me and a little bit conflict averse, if you don't like to be engaged in conflict, if you cannot watch the Texas Rangers play the Houston Astros because it makes you too anxious, because there's too much conflict, you just want to know what happens at the end, you might get this. That conflict and tension, especially between theologies, between classes of people of different racial identities, that is also a part of our history. It is baked into the very merger process. It happened in 1961. Anything else going on in America in the 1960s? That's where Unitarian Universalism springs up, from the conflict around it and from the conflict within. Smack dab in the middle of the civil rights era, these waters of creation birthed this new denomination that has to be recognized as part of the history. Especially when we start to feel a little uncomfortable with conflicts that are here in our congregation, right? When we disagree about things. It's very easy to say, oh, we don't have conflict here. No, we're totally fine. Everyone loves everybody else. And that's true. And that doesn't mean we agree all the time. The covenant of sacred promises in the Second Unitarian Church of Chicago has these words: we embrace conflict. We embrace conflict. Have you ever been part of a group that said, we embrace conflict? That's not what we do here in America. We embrace conflict if it's something we can win. If it's something that the other person can lose at, oh, we love that. But conflict between loving partners, between a group that is based on love, that's hard. That's hard. And that is baked into the very foundations of this congregation, of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. Conflict and tension and disagreeing and trying to figure out who we are, the push and pull between Unitarianism and Universalism, between theism and atheism, between a white tradition and a black tradition, between a Judeo-Christian, quote unquote, and a more pluralist faith that includes everyone who is here, that includes earth-based folks and pagan folks and Buddhists and Muslims. That is baked into it as well. That is part of our history. And so it's easy and fun to sing these old hymns and think, oh, wow, that was so lovely, and that sounds very white and Christian. And it's important to own that and to wrestle with that and to be honest about that, and to remember that loving disagreement and conflict is not a dirty word. It's a part of being a living tradition, and it's part of being a living being. We all have conflict. It's what makes stories interesting. It's what makes watching baseball awful. It's what makes being human. So when we talk about conflict, both in our history and in our present, in our congregations. I wonder how we might embrace conflict as part of our tradition. That it's a good thing, that it is teaching us to create something, to learn something new, to hear something that is different from what we thought, and to be the place of the open mind, to be grounded in helping hands and a loving heart. As the hymn says, to boldly go and explore. It's like Star Trek. To boldly go and explore where no one has been before, right? Building beloved community here on Star Trek UU. So what? Why am I telling you this story about this murder that happened in 1961? What does that mean for us? Can you imagine a situation where two groups of people with different theologies are trying to live together in the same space? Can you imagine how a refusal to understand and claim a shared heritage with that group of people can lead to either or thinking and lead to conflict that is not healthy or generative or peaceful? It's not based on love. Squaring our heritage is not just about looking back and trying to decide who won in the merger, and are we more Unitarian or Universalist, because we either like to think more or we like to act with love more. Because that's not all the story. But understanding our roots and claiming our roots, those of the Unitarians and Universalists that come out of Protestant Christianity that have caused so much harm, including the harm that is directly responsible for what's going on in Gaza right now, including what's going on in places like North Philadelphia right now. The whiteness of Christianity has a role to play in that. And those roots also fueled Harriet Tubman and liberation theologians here in North America and in South America. They also prompted beautiful hymns and poetry and speak of love as the center of our tradition. And that is that conflict that is built into our very system is what makes us a living tradition. It's wrestling with that, and it's finding new ways to interpret that. To say, yeah, we came from this place. We're not just that. We're actually more. We're not either or. We are both and. A pluralist tradition. Grounded in love. In all traditions from every age. That speaks to the roots of our varied faith traditions that call for healing and restoration and repair and justice. These are values that come out of creative and loving conflict with one another. And as when we engage in that with our whole selves, when we don't shut ourselves down to that conflict, that we are opened up to what love is doing, and our conflicts don't become less than peaceful. Prophetic Church, the future waits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love. Proclaim the truth that makes us free. The truth is that we are both and, grounded in love, and guided by all of our faiths. May we remember that when times are hard. May we return to that when we need. And may it be so. Amen. Let's take a breath and just meditate on that for a second. There you go.
Cool. Now's the time when we collect our offering financial resources for the good of this community. We know there are many ways to give back to the congregation, and we encourage you to find a way that works for you. For giving of financial support, your money or checks in the plate for today will be used to fund everyday operations of the congregation. Any pocket change or other money that you designate for Change for Change online or by putting them in the white envelopes in the pews will be sent to this month's selected Change for Change organization, the Emir Healing Center. Every murder is real. More info is on your screen about how to give online, and anyone can use the mobile app Vanco Mobile. Please know that if this is your first time with us, there's no expectation that you give anything other than a yellow contact form letting us know how you found us and how we can support you. The offering will now be gratefully accepted.
Thank you both. Once again, thank you to Anam and Tim for helping co-lead today's service. We appreciate you. A couple of things to be aware of, friends. One, Mary LaValle is helping facilitate the meeting over in Hale Lounge around 12:30 on Indigenous affairs and how we can be more involved in reparations work and in the land back movement, things like that. If you're interested in meeting there in person or online, that's around 12:30-ish over in Hale. Secondly, you heard about coffee hour, which is downstairs. It's also where the bathrooms are, if you are in need of those. And we are in need of coffee hour volunteers to help set up in the morning, clean up afterwards, help make the coffee. There is an online sign-up sheet that we will have accessible downstairs if you would like to sign up for a coffee hour shift anytime in the next month. We've been doing a great job so far, and we want to continue our streak. Secondly, we have guests who are staying here on premises for another few weeks, and they are using the fridge that is downstairs in the kitchen in Fellowship Hall. That's going to be their fridge for as long as they're here. Friends who are bringing stuff for coffee hour or for any event that we're hosting, there's another fridge over in Hale. If you don't know where it is, ask one of us and we will show you. That's going to be our fridge for the next few weeks, and anything that is theirs is going to go in the fridge downstairs. So if you're bringing milk or creamer or anything, and it's for our coffee hour, if that can go in the other fridge in Hale, and let them have that fridge downstairs. All right? Greg?
Sorry, just a quick correction on something that's in the rule when I'm meeting we're having Tuesday night.
Okay.
It says we're starting, the reparations meetings at 7 p.m., not 7:30. So if anybody's interested in that reparations meeting Tuesday night.
Reparations meeting Tuesday at 7 p.m.?
It's on Zoom instead of 7.
All right.
And that's the way it's written.
Check our slides and see if it says that on our slides, please. All right, friends, it's time to extinguish our chalice and end this part of our service this morning. The words to extinguish our chalice are from Hosea Ballou, who we heard from earlier. I invite you to read them together as you are willing. Tim, would you be willing to extinguish our chalice, please? Would you read these words with me? If we agree in love, there is no disagreement that can do us any injury. If we do not, no other agreement can do us any good. Let us endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bonds of peace. Our closing hymn is number 114, Forward Through the Ages. I invite you to stand in body or rise in spirit, and we sing this hymn together, Forward Through the Ages. Thank you, friends. Hear these words. When you leave this place, know that you are good. When you leave this place, know that you are loved. When you leave this place, know that you are forgiven. And when you leave this place, know that you are never, ever, ever alone. May we go in peace to love and serve the world. Amen. Have a great week, friends. We will see you next time.
Thank you, sir.